And a 1. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of the Welding Tips and Tricks podcast. I'm Jody Collier, and I'm here with Roy Crumrine.
Hey, how's it going?
And Jonathan Lewis.
How's it going, everybody?
And today we have a special guest. Today's guest is Barbie Parsons, a.k.a. Barbie the Welder on Instagram. Thanks for being on, Barbie.
Thanks for having me on here, guys.
Welcome.
We're all very much looking forward to hearing about it. You're kind of a rock star on Instagram. Barbie's a welder as well as an artist, and I'm sure she has many other talents, but those are the two that seem to shine through on Instagram. And we actually got a suggestion email from somebody through the Welding Tips and Tricks podcast email, suggesting we have some women on. It hadn't really even crossed our radar, not like we were trying not to. It's just that, we're just kind of looking at people on Instagram, who's next, who's willing, who's available, that kind of thing. So when that suggestion came through, the first person that popped in my head was Barbie. She shows up in my feed all the time. Always fun to see what she's up to. So again, thanks so much for being on, Barbie. And first thing I would like to ask you is how you got started in burning metal.
Well, I've got a background in auto mechanics and was an auto mechanic out of high school and college I went to, and that was actually the career path I was going to take, but I ended up getting burned out of it after about 7 years. I dealt with a whole bunch of harassment and just a bunch of BS that got me frustrated, got me down, and I ended up working for myself for a couple of years, actually pulling parts off of cars from a local parts place that I would sell on eBay, and buying stuff and selling it on eBay, and did that. And at one point during that, I had seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. And in the beginning of the movie, there was a woman that was welding this giant angel wing sculpture. And seeing her do that just absolutely spoke to my soul. And I knew that creating sculpture was what I needed to do. It was like my sole purpose in life. So I saved up money. At the time, working for myself wasn't going too well. I was making enough to just barely get by, but not doing too well. I was actually on subsidized housing, was getting food stamps, and was not doing too well financially. I ended up saving up. It took me 9 months to save up. I put myself through an adult education class for welding. It was 104 hours over the course of 6 months. And my teacher talked me into going to work for a local fabrication shop, custom fab shop in Horse, New York, called Cameron Manufacturing and Design. They are phenomenal. It's a small company. They have just a little bit over 180 people, I think it was. That they were just absolutely phenomenal to me. I worked for them for just about 5 years. I had to lay off. They laid off for a little bit. They were slow, but then I ended up getting hired back. Earned my journeyman. During that time, started saving up and actually saved up and fixed my credit and bought a house for the garage. And a little while after that, was able to save up and put machines in it to start making art.
Nice.
To me, I don't want to get too personal or anything. I wonder what the difference was. You said you encountered a lot of harassment in the auto mechanics world, but you refer to this company as being a phenomenal experience. What do you think the difference was between the two crafts or the two situations or whatever, that one was positive and one was negative?
It's hard to say, because I thought welding was a totally different industry just because of the problems I had. And that was across several different jobs with auto mechanics, from parts stores to actually turning wrenches. I tried selling cars for 3 months. That was awful. I'm not good at dressing up. I'm not really sure. I thought that welding was different, but I just come off of a adventure out in Phoenix where I was working with other women in an all women's build of a 1957 Chevy pickup truck, and a lot of the girls that I spoke with that were on that build actually are still having problems with harassment and stuff. So I sincerely thought that welding was totally different, but I guess it depends on the company. The company I work for, the guys were just incredibly supportive. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them. They took the time and shared the knowledge. Were just very, very willing to share and teach me, whatever they knew, and were very supportive when I, made the decision to leave there to go full time on my own. I mean, really supportive.
Well, it sounds like there are just good spots you can fall into and bad spots you can fall into. I think all of us have encountered that. It's a shame that you have had to experience that. I guess that's still part of the world we live in.
Yeah.
It just makes you who you are. I think that I really appreciated the company when I went there, and maybe I wouldn't have appreciated it as much had I not been through what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always told my wife and coworkers in my day job, if we hired and really needed some really meticulous stuff, I would look for a woman. Their attention to detail was just phenomenal. I know a couple female welders in this area, and they're like Roy. They're top notch, and they have a better attitude, it seems, at times than men. I have absolutely no problem with females in the industry.
I think you get good people and bad people regardless of what their sex is. I mean, like, you've got some women that are, not the cream of the crop, and you got some guys that are like that. And I just think, it takes all kinds of kinds to make the world go round.
It does.
Yeah, absolutely. I had seen something online that you teach classes, like a women's welding class or a course or something.
Well, it's not just for women. When I was out in Phoenix, that class I did out there was just for women because the build I was on, it was an all-girls build by grown women. But here at my place, I am teaching anyone from 8 years old and up, and guys or girls.
Really? That's really nice.
Well, you seem to be getting a lot of opportunities as a result of, I'm going to say, as a bottom line result of your hustle. But, Instagram seems to be a big part of that. The recent build you talked about with all-female build seems to be the the opportunity that came along. Can you kind of walk us through that journey?
I sure can. I found that through Miller Welders, actually. I was following them because there was a contest they were running for a side-by-side, and I entered one of my sculptures into it in the hopes of winning a side-by-side so I could use it to mow my lawn. But I was following them and happened to see this all-girls build. It's by Bogie, one of the co-stars of All Girls Garage. This is her brainchild to bring more women into the industry. She's, normally the only woman that she's been in. All the girls that she's brought together are used to being the only. It was an incredible experience. They flew me out to Phoenix, and I lived out there for a month, volunteered my time, and I did a whole bunch of stuff. I've never done body work before. Like, I know welding and fabrication, but I have no idea about body work other than I can make something look like it wasn't there. But it was an incredible experience to be able to, first of all, meet other women that loved welding, that didn't mind getting dirty, that loved to turn wrenches, that know about cars, that know about motorcycles. I'm not used to having friends that know about anywhere close to what I'm doing. It's kind of a lonely journey as far as what I'm doing, but to go out there and have the experience to meet the other women was just seriously amazing. And then, I've never been out west before, so that was really cool. And then to have the opportunity to work with Bogie, who is just one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met. She is sincerely full of hustle, has a great heart, and just a genuinely good human being that it feels good to be around,
Yeah. Did I see a picture or a video of you after last year's Fab Tech crying about not being able to go to Fab Tech?
Yes, that was me.
You weren't the only one. That's why I had to ask if it was you. Well, the reason I bring that up is because you just mentioned about how great it is to be around like-minded people where you can just talk shop 24/7. Everybody gets you. You get them. You don't have that normally in your household or in your close circle of friends or whatever. And it's just such a, I don't know how else to say it other than a blessing to be able to do that and experience that. And so hope you're going to make the next Fab Tech. Hope to see you there. Yeah, it is such a cool thing. That is the coolest thing about Fab Tech now. You just with the Instagram welding community, the welding community at large, but most everybody's on Instagram now because it's such a cool welding community there that we can communicate, we can talk, and we can. Hey, I'm going to Fab Tech. Where are you going to meet? Where are you going to be? And everybody can kind of hook up, and it's a blast. So hope to see you there.
Yeah, I hope to be able to go this year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I thought I remember you crying, doing a whole spiel there.
Always serious, always very professional and serious.
Yeah, that's the way we all are. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I definitely found my tribe with welders. Just I don't know, it's fabricators in general, but like you said with Instagram, it has been just the most incredible opportunity for me to connect with like-minded individuals. I've met a couple of people that I've been friends with on there that Insta friends that just absolutely, as soon as you meet them, it's just like I knew it would just be crimies forever. Just really good people. But Instagram has been so good to me. It really has been great to see what other people are doing, to be able to connect with people, and to hopefully get my art out.
Yeah, it's the best. I don't know. It's just the best. It's such a supportive community. I see you getting tons of support on there, and I really love to see that. It's just very little negativity going around Instagram, and we talk about practically every podcast. It's just a good positive vibe, very little negativity, and the only negativity that usually arises if somebody's tries to repost somebody's photo acting like it's theirs, and trying to not give credit for it. That usually causes a little dust up, rightly so. Nobody wants to have their stuff stolen. But largely, if you're genuine and trying to add value to the community, it's like, welcome aboard. You're one of us, and that's what I see anyway.
Yeah, that's the add value. That's a major key right there.
Yeah, Jonathan said it in the last podcast. That's his main objective on Instagram, is just to add value to the welding community. And when I heard that, it kind of, I don't know, kind of pricked me a little bit. Like, am I always trying to add value, or am I just trying to something else, build my following or whatever? So, a little gut check every now and then. It's always a good thing. That's what we all want to do. It's the old Einstein saying. I'm not sure if it's a true saying that attributed to him, but it is attributed to him, saying, try not to be a person of success, but rather be a person of value. And
Right.
You don't have to be either or. I think the point of that is, by being a person of value, you're more likely to be successful.
I love it. That makes a lot of sense. It is true.
Yeah. So I guess we're done. We'll end on that.
Yeah.
No, not really. Not really. We got more ground to cover. Well, Barb, can I call you Barb?
You can call me anything but late for dinner.
Okay. What kind of machines are you running right now?
Right now I have a Lincoln that it runs on 110. That's my MIG. And then I have a TIG and a plasma that are both Harbor Freight, and I am looking to upgrade my TIG. The one I've got now only has DC, and I can't weld aluminum with it. Like, I can weld aluminum, my machine can't. And I want to be able to offer, I'd like to, just upgrade, but I would like to be able to offer my students aluminum as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on upgrading to a Miller TIG that is, I think it's the 185. I feel like it's a 185, but I could be wrong on that. I was just looking into it the other day.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Something I've always been curious about with artists, like, I honestly don't have an artistic bone in me to, like, make sculptures or anything. Like, if I see a pile of horseshoes or something, that's what I see, is a pile of horseshoes. And, like, I'm looking at one of your pictures here, and you've got 9 different pictures of horseshoes in different shapes and forms, and I don't know if it's something that you can describe or whatever, but how do you come up with your ideas when you see stuff, or how do you come up with a project?
It depends on what project. So the horseshoe stuff, some of the stuff I've designed myself, and other stuff I've seen through like Pinterest or Google and just copy what I see. I try to put my own twist on it, but like with the horseshoe stuff, it's like I saw someone did a coat rack. I was like, well, I love the moose head coat rack. I want to do a moose head coat rack. I think it would be just kind of like a good fit with the horseshoes. Some of the stuff I do, like the more of a one-of-a-kind sculpture, I've had clients will get a hold of me and say, here's something, I would like something similar. Can you do this? And then I will do that. And other stuff, I wake up in the middle of the night with a picture in my head, and I have to go out in the shop and make it and just bring it to life. Sometimes I will be sitting in the shop and I'll be putzing around and I will see something sitting on the floor or in a bin, and I can see what that's going to be. And then other times I'll get a picture in my head and just go find the pieces that I need to make what I want to make. So I guess it happens in a whole bunch of different ways.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't see that at all.
Yeah, it's a gift, and I don't have it. And I think maybe everybody has an inkling of it, but some people get a double dose, and I have to really, I want to try to nurture that side of myself maybe in the coming years, but it needs some serious Miracle Grow or some kind of, something fertilizer, I don't know, because it just really seems like I'm so practical. I mean, when I say, well, build a table, okay, build a table, square, 4 legs, square or rectangle, done. Move on to the next thing, and other guys are like, no, we could plasma cut these swirly gussets and we could twist some wire and, and that stuff never occurs to me. And so maybe it could occur to me if I would work on it a little while, but it just doesn't come natural, and to some people it seems to come natural, and that's a cool thing.
I think just like anything else, I just think it takes practice. Like I look back at what I was doing when I first started. I have my first welding project ever from school. I kept that. I've got a couple of small pieces I kind of tacked together, like tig-tack together when I was still at that shop, like before I had stuff here. And I mean, I look at that and I look at what I do now, and it's a whole nother world. But I mean, just like you start out, like, crawling and stuff, it's like you fell down a whole bunch of times when you were crawling trying to walk, but, after a while of practice and you got good at it, now you don't even think about it. I think this thing that you focus your time on like that, I think it happens, My drawing, like, I have clients that ask me to draw a picture of, like, what I'm going to make. I can't do it. I don't have any drawing practice, and I screw up stick figures. It's hard to tell what my stick figures look like. But I can see something in my head, and my clients will say, well, I want this bench that makes it, I want it to look like lips. And I was like, okay, well, hey, can you draw it? Like, no, I really can't. And like, please don't make me draw this. It'll be awful. But, I can see it in my head, and I can make it come out, and it's exactly what the client asked for, but I can't draw it to tell them what it's going to be like. It's like I've been really blessed with clients that have taken me on my word. Look at what I've done previously, or I can show you a picture. Like I can show you a picture from like off a internet search that I can make it look like this, but in metal. And just real lucky with clients who take me on my word for it. And
well, that's one way to do it. I mean, really, it's kind of, you just gotta roll with it. If you don't have the drawing skills, maybe that's what you do, and then eventually you get to the point where you got a waiting list of 100 people, and they don't even ask for a drawing, because results are the hardest thing to argue with when you got this portfolio of satisfied clients. That's better than being able to draw.
I think so. It's working so far.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, I mean, sometimes there could be a negative to being able to draw. It's kind of like then they want to pick the drawing apart, analyze it 6 ways to Sunday, and if you can't even show them anything, you just have to say, hey, trust me. You got to trust me. Yeah. What do I know? I can't do this crap. I'm no artist. Hey, do you
classes, man? Just come up and have some classes.
Yeah, you never know. Might do it. I mean, it's like I said, I'm trying to nurture that side of me. I'm not getting any younger, so I better nurture it before it's completely dead. Do you Josh Welton, Brown Dog Welding on Instagram?
It sounds familiar. I do believe.
Yeah, he's a welder / artist. Not exactly the same type stuff that you do, but similar. He does a lot of little metal sculptures. I think he works for General Dynamics or somebody up in Detroit. Anyway, I thought, he's fairly active on Instagram, but I ran into him at FabTech in Atlanta, and it was like meeting a long lost brother or something. We'd never met, but I knew of him. He knew of me. We struck up a conversation. Again, like-minded people. Felt like I'd known him all my life. We could have sat there and talked for 3 hours, no problem. But thought maybe you might be aware of him.
I'll have to check him out. I might be following him, and I might recognize him by his art sometimes. I know people by the cars they drive. And I know people by their art.
Mm-hmm.
I might not always know their name, but I know of them.
Yeah. That's kind of how it is at Instagram. We joke around about how we meet up at FabTech, and we're like, oh, yeah, my name's Cody. Well, who? Oh, Quarter Tilt Creations. Oh yeah, I know you. We only know them by their Instagram name, and we don't really know by their real name at all. And it's funny when you learn it and then you try to correlate the two.
Okay.
So Barbie, going through your Instagram feed, I noticed you wear some pretty cool T-shirts from Dirt Rocker Nation, and understand that is your company, your business. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started Dirt Rocker Nation back in 2013. I always say some smart aleck sayings. I used to sit outside at lunch on break at work, and we'd all be talking crap back and forth to each other and come up with a whole bunch of different things. And for probably like a year and a half before I started the company, I joked around like I ought to stick that on a shirt, man. That'd be great. And I was doing the art a little bit here and there, and then I thought, I could start this T-shirt company and hopefully get some passive income that I can put the stuff on the T-shirts and make the designs and sell them to help me supplement being an artist, because you always hear the comment about starving artists, and I might be small, but I really love to eat, and I like to eat good stuff. Ramen's like okay, but I prefer steak and lobster. So I went and I started the company, and I've got 6 different welding designs. I think 6 different welding designs. I got like a couple of redneck sayings and a Jeep sweatshirt I'm not allowed to make anymore because Daimler Chrysler wasn't too impressed. I didn't even think about it.
Oops.
But, yeah, I've been doing that, and I sell those on Etsy.
Cool. I really like the one. Well, I'm trying to go find it so I say it right. Yes, I know I'm on fire. Let me finish this weld, and I'll put it out. That's the one. I need that one.
Yeah.
First one that one is the one that started it all.
Every welder can relate. It's like I'm on fire. Oh, so what? Like that's the first time that ever happened. I gotta finish this bead.
Yeah. The worst part of that is when you start smelling it, and you're just like, "What is it that's burning now?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like I know it starts because I smell dryer sheets first.
Yeah, it was worse for me when I was in welding school than any other time because as a student you usually don't have any money, so you're burning your clothes, and then you get a hole in them, and then it gets frayed, and then it's more of a fire hazard when it's got frays hanging off of it. Yeah. But you got to wear it because you ain't got nothing else, Yeah. So, like you said, you're halfway through a good bead and you smell something, and you're like, I'm not stopping.
It becomes a matter of pride.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what would you say is your favorite type of work to do, or favorite type of art to do?
Oh, the one of a kind, the larger sculptures that are one of a kind. Any kind of one of a kind stuff that. I love it when I have a client will say, this is my idea, what can you do with it? And they give me a little bit of, they give me the creative freedom, but to do something that has never been done before and never will be done before, to be able to give the client something that they can be proud of, something that they know no one else will ever own, and that they can brag to their friends about. This is the only one like it in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, you have several pieces that I really appreciate. Probably the most, it's a small one though. I know that, this isn't your big sculptures, but the one that I like the most of everything that you created personally is the ring made out of a bolt.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool to be able to do that. It was an absolute honor. That was a wedding ring.
That's awesome.
That was awesome to do. It was scary because of having to be absolutely dead on with the size, and I don't have a lathe. That was all done by hand with a burr bit.
Really?
To open it and then a burr bit. But
you did a great job on it, though.
A pair of calipers. Thank you so much.
It's unique. I mean, like you said, no one else has anything like that. I mean, there might be people out there that make rings out of bolts, but I thought that was pretty cool. It's really industrial looking.
Yeah, I like how it turned out. I don't wear rings or nothing, but I would definitely wear one like that. I liked how it come out.
My son likes your fish.
That's their fish.
Find that one.
The ring one?
Yeah.
It's not super old, I don't think. It was not too long ago, anyway.
I think that one was last year. I feel like it was like last fall. It's been a while since I saw that one. Yeah, I believe that one was through Instagram. Like people see my stuff through there and then contact me and ask me to do other stuff. Instagram has been just absolutely killer for connecting with people.
So do you think that you get more of your work through Instagram, your unique art anyway, than maybe Etsy?
It's hard to say. I sell a lot of it through social media, but like last year I was traveling, like up until November, I've been doing shows. So like every week I was traveling, like I would weld during the week, and then I would travel to shows on the weekends and set up and, sell my art. Last year I was at 48 shows in 52 weeks, from Vermont to Georgia. It was like
wow.
Redneck East Coast World Tour is what it was. I slept in my truck every weekend except for, I think there was like 4 weekends that I had a place to stay. Like people put me up, but I slept in the back of my truck most of it. But it was a heck of a good way to get my art out, to get people put their hands on it, which is different than, like I can only do so good with pictures, and I'm learning to try to get better pictures. It was really great to get my stuff out like that, and that's helped grow my following on social media by doing the shows and stuff. But between, I think, Instagram and Facebook is where I've gotten a lot of my custom work. I think that, because I'm also on Pinterest, I have boards on Pinterest and share my stuff through that as well. And I've had, for a while I was having quite a bit of like the horseshoe stuff. I get a lot of that, like the orders of that through Pinterest. But I think a lot of the custom stuff comes through my social media, as I've sold art to clients in 8 different countries now.
Wow. That's great. It's amazing. We've kind of made this comment before, even in private and on the podcast too, about how the artists like yourself or any of us can make a product or art in your case and sell it on social media, and your following grows pretty quick and very rapidly, and you can make an income. I mean, who would have thought that you could make a living selling your art on social media? Yeah,
I know that the term starving artist probably was a lot before social media. I mean, it's a heck of a lot of hustle. I mean, I work 8 days a week. I work 16 to 18-hour days. And if I'm not in the shop, then I'm reading books on how to improve my social media, how to improve my art, how to improve myself personally. It's all about growth, and it's all about trying to be a better person today or have a better business or tomorrow than it was today.
I saw something recently. I don't think it was your post, but I think you liked it and you commented or something. It was about a book named Relentless.
Oh, that was my post, actually. I pulled it.
Oh, it was your post? Okay.
What I do is I'll post something, and if it doesn't do so good in a short amount of time, I'll pull it back down. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but it's what I've done. Yeah, Relentless book by Tim Grover.
Tim Grover, right. Well, that prompted me to buy that book on Audible, and I listened to it. I do that. I listen to books like that when I'm at the gym every day before I get my work day started. And it was a really good listen. It's pretty intense. It's not all of it's for me, but no book is. I don't swallow a book hook, line, and sinker. I have my brown BS highlighter out in hand whenever I'm reading or listening to anything, because I just know, number one, this book is written to sell books. That's the number one purpose of every book. So you have to have that in mind. But there was a lot of good material in there and just kind of inspirational. It's like, yeah, it's all about the hustle. It really is.
It is. Yeah. Anyone can do what I'm doing. Put in the time I'm putting in,
Yeah. I don't know if you follow Jimmy DiResta. He's, you and him got a lot in common. He's what you would call a maker, does a lot of woodworking, but he also does a lot of metalworking and welding just to facilitate whatever else he's making, whether it's an industrial desk or whatever, sword, knife. But he's got a podcast. Him and 2 other guys, like we're doing. We got 3 guys on our podcast, but they don't really have guests that often. But he commented one time about, people comment about, oh, it must be nice to get all this free equipment and get sponsors and all this stuff. And he's like, well, anybody can do this. All you got to do is basically give up every relationship you've ever had in your life and spend all your time in your shop for 20 years. Anybody can do it That's all you got to do, And that's,
it.
there's a sacrifice, there's a story behind every success. And, nobody just falls to it and gets lucky and gets 20,000 followers on Instagram. It's most of the time it's like tooth and nail. There's a lot of sweat and tears going on behind the scenes. A lot of stuff that people don't want to hear about necessarily, but it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's work.
You got that right. I made a post along those lines of what you just said. Oh, I don't know how long it was. It was a picture I put up there, and I made the picture fuzzy on purpose, and I said I've been lying to you this whole time. And what it's about is the fact that, people put up like the good side. Like I put up pictures of me smiling all the time and me doing this, me doing that. But what people didn't see was, I went through a nasty breakup. I went, the shows and sleeping in my truck all last summer. And I don't have any friends I spend any time with because I'm in my shop all the time. I've got an empire to build. And the friends I do have understand that, I'll be around when I get a chance. But right now it's just, and they love me. They respect me. We talk occasionally. Man, I make time for my family and then I make time for my work. And there's really, there's nothing left, it's a ton of work, but, they see what they see on social media and think it is rainbows and unicorns. And there's a lot of times when, there was a point 9 months into, being full-time artist that, and when I quit my job, it was the best money I've ever made in my entire life. And everyone thought I was crazy. And I mean crazy, because like I said, I went from Section 8 housing and having government assistance with my housing to I own a house. I've got 2 boats. I got a brand new motorcycle I bought. I've got a beautiful Jeep that was my dream vehicle. I bought my kid a 4-wheeler. I was living the dream, like, for me, and to walk away from the security of the job, the best paying job I've ever had, and by far the best paying job. It wasn't just, a good paying, it was a dang good paying job. They're like, you're going to walk away from, I cashed in all my chips. I cashed in my 401k, took a loan out from the bank the day before I left work for a personal loan just to give me a nice chunk of money in the bank. And 9 months later, because I was making art, but I didn't have the social media following. I don't know about sales. I really didn't know about nothing. I really didn't know about art. I still don't. But I just, I stuck my nose down to the grindstone and kept working. I was putting out stuff, but stuff wasn't selling because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And even though I was, doing my best every day and I was putting in ridiculous amount of hours, I got to a point 9 months in that I had $35 left in the bank. And I was in danger of losing my house that I worked so hard to get, and I started going through depression too because of the fact that it just was like, I was failing and I was failing fast and it was definitely not turning out the way I expected. And there was no one to talk to because no one had any idea what I was going through. I don't know any other artists. I don't know anyone else working for themselves. And everyone in my life had told me, I told you so. I had a picture in my head, I had a vision, I had a dream, and it's people that are based in security just don't get the, leaving your job to be an artist, which you've never done before. But I was able to, through sheer tear and force of will, I was able to come back from that. But it was scary, and there was kicking and screaming and blood and tears, but I was, it's just this sheer determination. But people don't, they don't see that side. They see all of a sudden you pop up on social media and you have, 19,000 followers and they see you getting handed stuff and, think that, it's because you're a girl or, they don't see all the stuff that's, the behind the scenes stuff.
And they never will. That's the sad truth of it is, that no one wants to see that side really, it's just kind of like when you meet somebody in the street and you say, how you doing? You don't really want to know how they're doing. You're just hoping they say fine. You don't hope they're saying, well, my God, my wife left me and I'm about to lose my house. And you're like, oh crap, why'd I even say hi? So that's life. That's human nature and all that stuff. But it is like, behind every person that you see who's making some headway and getting some traction like you are, there's a story behind that. And I guarantee it's not all pretty. There's sacrifices that are made. There's times when you wonder if you did the right thing. You wonder, you're just kind of like in that discomfort zone. And I like being in the comfort zone. They say you got to get out of your comfort zone, to do anything in life. And I don't really like it. I have to get out of it sometimes, but we all do. But it's just everybody's got a story, and I'm glad we're in an environment here where we can kind of cut a vein and bleed a little bit and just talk about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you feel like you're the only one when you're going through it, but there's so many people out there that are doing the same thing. It's, I think if more people talk about it, I think it'd be easier for the people going through it. Like, I had no idea where to reach out. Like, even the people, I went to they had like a small business place here. Even the guy that was in there thought, he thought I was crap crazy for doing what I was doing, but, I don't know. I think having a group of people that understand, like having it out there, I'm more than happy to share whatever I've learned with anyone. If I can help one person make it just a little bit easier, man, it means the world to me.
Mm-hmm. Right. What was the turning point for you?
I had the weekend I was sitting there, and like I said, $35 in the bank, and I had a show. And it was probably my third show that I'd done, because at that point I wasn't even doing shows. Like I guess I assumed. I said I left my job in total ignorance. I'm really glad I did, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here. But I figured people would beat a path to my door. And don't laugh, because I mean that's the truth. I honestly just thought I would make art and people would see it and they would like it. And I didn't know about anything to do about business. I just knew that in my heart that I needed to make art. That was it. That was the only thing I knew, and I'm so glad I was ignorant. But that weekend I had a show. I think it was number 4 or number 5 show that I had. I wasn't even going to go to it because I was depressed. I was just frustrated. I was soul crushed. I ended up going to the show. It was literally a mile from my house, and it was the New York State Chainsaw Carving Championship. I live in a 1-horse town. We've got a bar and a stop sign, and I use one of them. I won't tell you which one it is. I'll just leave that to you. But, yeah, I ended up going. Who would have known that our little town had that? But it did. There was a couple of vendors set up, and there was these people carving art with chainsaws. And my kid, who was, I think he was 10 at the time, 9 or 10, great kid, man. He's like, hey, Mom, you want to take, he's good. He's like, you want to go walk around and check out the stuff, and I'll watch the booth for you. I'm like, all right. So I go over, and they've got what's called a speed carve, and all the people that are carving with the chainsaws, they get a log, they stand in the ring, and everyone stands around and watches them. They get 1 hour to carve whatever they want to carve. And as I'm watching these guys do their art, I see this one cat go, and he, has got headphones on, and they're all doing their thing, and everyone's watching him. He takes a step back, he looks at what he's doing, and he nods at it. And to me, this is something I've done several times in my shop. It's just as an artist, you look at what you're doing, and it's turning out the way that you want it to. You're very proud, you're very happy, and it's a moment I normally have very privately that I feel so good about what I'm doing. And I saw this guy have this moment with his art that I normally have privately. And it was just that's why you're doing it. This is why you're into it. It's to make your art. It's to have that, it's an addiction. It's an absolute addiction. But I connected with a couple of the carvers that weekend, Cheryl and Snuffy, this couple that they both carve. And there's so many chicks that chainsaw carve. It's that opened a whole new world for me, because I'm not used to, with all due respect, I'm not used to women getting dirty, working with their hands, or knowing. And there's a lot of women in the carving community. They're so incredible. They're such fierce, awesome women that are just, they get up there with these chainsaws and create art, and it's amazing. So I now had, friends that were really pretty amazing women, and and men that are artists, and I'd never connected with another artist before, and these guys were just incredible. And they invited me down to Coney Island for 4th of July. They had an event that they were carving at. They got me invited to it. They went and talked to the people and had me invited to it. I was able to set up on Coney Island for the 4th of July. and I had the best show out of, it took me like another 9 months to get another show that show was so good I was actually able to pay my bills for a couple of months. The carving community changed my art. They have welcomed me in and have made me one of them. I'm an artist, but my medium is metal. Theirs is wood, but we're all doing the same thing. Is making a living, creating art. And so through the relationships I've built with them, it brought me back from absolute. I was gonna have to go back and work for the company I had left, which I would have gotten back into being an artist. I wouldn't have left it, but it saved me. Meeting them really saved me.
It's amazing how just a little bit of support and a one win can kind of like just breathe new life into you sometimes.
Wow, you're telling me. Yeah, that was a major, major win. I'm really close friends with all of them. I've actually been, they've got it's the largest chainsaw carving event in the world down in Ridgeway, Pennsylvania. And I've been out there this year. It was the second year I got invited back, but the only artist that was not a carver that's been invited there. Wow. The carvers, I'm like a turd in a punch bowl. You got 200 carvers from all around the world, and then you got Barbie the Welder. But they've been super good to me. If it wasn't for them, I definitely would not be where I am today. But they've definitely welcomed me into their family, and they've got a very close knit family, like the way the welders and fabricators do on Instagram. It's nice to see.
Was there any advice that they gave you that really resonated with you?
No, I don't think there was any advice as far as just any specific advice. For me, it was the shows I was doing, I was paying for, which cost money. And then you got a crapshoot, where you're going. They started inviting me to shows with them. The more I got to know the community, the more they welcomed me in. And a lot of the shows I went to in other states last year was through them. But not only do they invite you to the shows and stuff, and you don't have to I was paying $250 for a show. I had a show last year. It was a $1,300 spot for a week. It takes a lot of money to do the shows, and the carvers are inviting me to the shows. And not only do they not pay for them because they're normally entertainment, but then they get put up. People sometimes open their homes up and whatnot, and you usually get a meal a day. And it was a huge help that way. But then to have other artists to talk to, and that, I look around at them and I see, this girl's driving this truck and her art bought that truck. Like through her creativity, through her hard work, she bought this truck. And then these guys, I started looking around like it can happen. Like it can happen. And I think a lot of it came from seeing that other people did it. I was like, oh heck yes, I can do this too. But seeing them create their art live, I said, well, I need to be able to do that. So I set myself up and I talked to a bunch of places locally until I got one of the companies to donate weld curtains to me. And I set up and I welded live at a few places now and actually sold it as a show too.
Awesome.
Again, it seems like it's boiling down to hustle, at the end of the day. Whether it's hustle in your workday or hustle in communicating with, potential sponsors or whatnot and thinking about things all the time, it's still hustle.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give somebody that might be in your shoes or your past shoes to get to where you are now, or that wants to get to where you are?
I would have to say, if you don't 100% love what you're doing, then get out now. If I didn't absolutely I have a passion for welding art that's bordering on obsession, and it goes into everything I do. If you don't have an absolute love in any career path where you're going to work for yourself, whether you're a writer or whatever you're doing, you have to love it, and you have to want the outcome as much as you want to breathe, or else you will never get it. And I don't know, it's such hard work. Like I said, I definitely, I don't have any personal time. I do make time for my family, and they're number one in my life. And honestly, if it wasn't for my family support and understanding the fact that I put in so many hours, and it's, it won't always be like that, but for the last few years, it's, just ridiculous hours. I'm not in it to make money. I've never been in it to make money. It was to create the art. What has come out of the hard work is I have made money. And my opinion, your first goal can't be to make money. It has to be for extreme love of something, I think. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've heard that saying too, I'm not sure who said it, but one of my former boss used to tell me all the time that if you do something just for the money, it'll fail. It'll never work. But if you do it because, you're passionate, or there's some saying or some book or something along the line that goes along with it. But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, you got to at least have a certain amount of interest in something and a certain amount of pull there. Let's say you set out to be, pull something out of the thin air. Say you set out to be a personal trainer. If you're not really kind of focused on that and really super interested in that, you're going to hit some low points. You're going to hit some times when you don't get any clients, you're not making any money, and you're going to want to bail. But if you are just super focused on it and that's all you think about all the time because that's your life's interest, it'll carry you through those lulls, Same with anything, really. You got to have, I don't know if it necessarily has to be an obsession, but that doesn't necessarily hurt, But it's got to be pretty close. If you're going to, if that's going to be your thing, you can't be just doing it just for the money. It's you got to have that focus, something that just pulls you through those low times.
Well said.
Right.
Well, I am the old man of this crew, so I'm supposed to be the voice of reason and the wisdom.
So, Barbie, where do you see yourself in the future, and where do you want to go?
I should leave this in.
I'm sorry.
All right. I just asked him.
I don't know if that sounded the same to everybody on the other.
I gave up.
Oh, Barbie,
that sounded good to me.
All right. Sorry, I know you can't help it. It's just it's a technical thing, which So, Barbie, where do you see yourself now, and where do you see yourself going in the future?
My next move is to save up for a bigger shop. Right now, and for the last probably year and a half, I've been at maximum capacity. I am working out of a one-car garage that is attached to my house, and everything that you've seen so far has come out of that garage. I'm so grateful for it, but I have a lot of machines that I want to get that will expand my capabilities, that will expand my art, and allow me to branch into making, I'd like to do my own line of bumpers and fender flares. I want to have my own line of furniture, and on the fabrication side, I'm looking to do my own line of the horse art, and I'd like to hire people to do that stuff. Like, I'll design it and then have other people to make it. And I need a bigger shop to get to that point. So my number one goal right now is to make sure that I am building a nice and firm foundation under what I've got now, using what I've got, and then move into a bigger shop so that I can start getting bigger machines to bigger and better machines. I've got a grocery list of stuff I want.
I'm curious, what's the number one thing on that grocery list?
Plasma table. Plasma table. I want a shear, a brake, a roll, a punishing hammer. I want a pneumatic tube bender. All kinds of good stuff.
Well, the good thing about it is I can just automatically think of support system for you on that on Instagram. People to be happy to chime in and help you get you through little glitches and obstacles that you might run into. You know, whenever you get new stuff, you run into little learning curves, obviously. But man, the Instagram community is very supportive, and you got guys out there that you can name a plasma table brand, and I could probably name you somebody that's willing to help you, that has one and willing to help you on it, you know, get you up and running.
That's awesome. And like, the thing is like you can't. I mean, like you can, but you can't really pay for help like that, you know.
Yeah.
Have someone come out to my place and put them up and for that kind of stuff. That's there's an awful lot. Like everything I know with art has been self-taught. I never use I've got a hand plasma, but I've never, I don't know the software and all the stuff for making the stuff. And the thing is, I learn as I go. But there's so much, and that's one of the things that is so cool for me. Like I get bored so easy. I need stuff to keep me out of trouble. And with welding, I went through so many jobs before I did welding that I didn't stay at anything longer than a year. Like that was my longest. And I'm a heck of a good worker. I've got a great work ethic. I would get bored and I would need to move on and learn because I either couldn't move up or whatever reason. But I just had to move on. And with welding, it's like I've been in welding for 10 years and never a day goes by that I don't learn something, whether it's, from watching a video from someone who's been willing to share their information or something I figure out on my own in the shop. But there's no limits to what you can do. Your only limits is your imagination. Yeah.
I can chime in there too. I've been at this game for close to 40 years and I probably learn something every day. I just, just depends on the attitude, I guess. I mean, I'm constantly searching for new information and, looking at what people do. And it doesn't matter if they have 2 years under their belt, they more than likely can teach me something,
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great.
You probably don't get a lot of extra time outside of the shop, but is there anything that you particularly like doing outside of work?
Oh, I love to hunt and fish, but I have not made time for it in the last couple of years. My goal this year is to get back out in the woods and the lakes and rivers to go do some more hunting and fishing. Man, I miss that like crazy. Like that's my church right there.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I love to fish personally. I'm in Florida right now. I'm pretty much fishing in the surf every day. I don't catch a whole lot. Like I've caught like many different types of fish and some pretty good sized ones, but it's pretty slow go. I go a week before catching much of anything sometimes, and then I'll catch a 3-foot shark, But just being out there is like it's zen, It's just I do some deep thinking, and it's like meditation almost,
Yep, absolutely agreed. I love it.
I saw your post, by the way. I meant to mention this earlier. I saw your post about how all the work you've been doing for the last long time has been out of a one-car garage, and that it's not really, the space or the area or the tools or whatever. It's your ambition and your attitude and all that stuff. And that is so true. I've known guys that run machine shops out of a 1 or 2 car garage and, making a 6-figure income out of that thing. But, they're just making do. They don't have enough space, but you just have to figure out how to make stuff do. And, it's a good problem to have when you start outgrowing that, but it's also good to go through it because it kind of makes you realize how fortunate you are once you get the big space,
Yes, absolutely agreed. It'll be, it might not be this year, it might not be next year, but it'll happen eventually. And I'm very blessed for where I have come from. I mean, like I came from absolutely zero. I mean, like I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But everything I've ever gotten, I'm so grateful for because of that. The days when I was depressed and I didn't think I was going to be able to, I thought I was going to lose my house. It's something that it'll always be with me. I'll never forget about it. And the thing is, it also, like going through stuff like that, it gives you strength. You get to another point in your life and you just get so frustrated with, I get frustrated with something like, look at what you've already gone through. You've never not made it. You really need to take a look and kind of put things back into perspective. Look at how far you've come. It's
yeah. And I also want to just kind of reiterate what you basically said was, you were depressed and in a dark place, and what got you out of it was getting a little bit of a support system with the carver community, and then getting a win or two, and then you start build a little momentum, and that's just so important to have it. You got to have, as a welder, entrepreneur, small business owner, whatever, you got to, you need somebody to talk to. You need a little bit of a support system, and you need a win every now and then.
Oh yeah, I think having that. I think you touched on that point, and I've been through it, and I don't always stop and think about it. But that support system is what saved me, and they're one of them. There's another one that, and there's so many things out there, and I guess I had my head in the sand. I was busy building art and trying to build a business, and still, had no idea what I was doing. But there are a lot of support systems out there. I wasn't aware of Instagram at first, and I was not on Instagram, I don't think, at that time. Instagram was like my newest social media thing, honestly, and it's the one I've done the best, and I don't always get that. But having that support system it's what needs to happen. Like, since then, I've got one that's an entrepreneur group in a couple of towns over that I go to once a month, and it's a bunch of local business owners now, lawyers, and there's a mortician. I mean, like, no one's got anything close to what I'm doing, but they are and they're not. It's like the carving community. It's like we're all creating art. It's different art, but we're all creating art. And the same thing with this entrepreneur group is that they're business owners. And at first, I didn't think of myself as a business owner. I didn't even think of myself as an artist. I just knew I was a welder. But down the road, it's like you start realizing, wait a second, you are running a business. You are trying to make money. You need to if you want to keep making art. So I just kind of look at myself a little bit differently after a while. But having that support for the entrepreneur group was another instrumental part, because then I had people going, and they got really excited because, they're in their businesses. They've been in their businesses for a long time, and me coming along and doing what I'm doing. They're like, what the heck is going on? This is so new and different and unique. And everyone wanted to put in their 2 cents. And by 2 cents, I mean, like, the brilliant information that here I think, like, my business card is really good. And they look at it and they're like, Barbie, what the heck are you thinking? This is awful. Go back and do it again. And, at first you get all upset, but it's like, take a look at it and honest with yourself. Like, oh my gosh, you're right. It doesn't reflect what I'm trying to do. Go back and spend another $80 on business cards. And But having their honest input and having thick skin and being able to say, you know what, they're right, I'm wrong, I need to, rethink what I'm doing. Or when I first started out, my company was called Wonderland Welding. I have a thing for Alice in Wonderland. I've always loved the story. I've always loved Alice. And so I started out as Wonderland Welding. I get into this group, and the group is actually where I got my name, Barbie the Welder, from. That's what they started calling me. After a few meetings, it was probably like 6 months worth of meetings, they started talking to me. They're like, listen, they said, when we hear Wonderland Welding, it sounds like a company. They're like, you need to look at the fact that you're one person, you're not a company. People are more likely to support you as one person versus thinking that you're working for a company. They're like, you really need to drop the Wonderland Welding and embrace the fact that you're a woman, that you're a welder, and that you are one person. So they're like, you really need to stick with the Barbie the Welder. Knowing that these people are excellent in what they're doing, let's go with that. And that's how that came about. And
sounds like that was some really good advice.
Oh, it was excellent advice. And I was kind of hurt at first because Wonderland Welding was just, that was my baby.
Yeah. That's the thing. You come up with this idea and you got all this invested in it, and it is your baby. And that's where a lot of people fail, to be honest, because you didn't test that name to see if people liked it. You just assumed. And in business, you need to test things.
I just learned that right now.
Yeah. But it's I think, I could be wrong, but there's a lot of people that would support my opinion here, that there's huge benefit from communicating with people in similar but not the same industries. Maybe not even that similar. Like, you could be talking to somebody in the printing industry or somebody that build cabinets or whatever. You glean some of the best ideas from those type scenarios than you do from, always talking about what you do, because there's an old saying that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if I'm a welder, I think about welding all the time. That's the solution to everything. Cut it and weld it or do this. But maybe welding's not the best way. Maybe carpentry's the best way. Maybe you can easily make a fixture out of wood that would take you 10 hours to make out of metal, but you can make it out of an hour if you just use a bunch of chunks of plywood, you know. And it's a one-off thing anyway, and you're going to throw it away, so who cares? Maybe that's the best solution. But, you know, we tend to think in the terms that we're most comfortable with, you know, with our past experience and everything. But when you expose yourself to people with different backgrounds, man, you can get a lot of benefit from that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It seems like you have, that's for sure. I mean, that sounds like to me like I'm thinking the same thing. Well, yeah, absolutely. You should focus on the fact that you're a woman and that you're a single person. That because people these days, you know, they're tired of the big corporation. They want to support the mom and pop, the small business, the woman-owned business, or the single person-owned business, or whatever. It makes perfect sense, but you can't always see that when it's all you, that you're the one. It's a personal thing, but you need some outside perspective to clue you in on that sometimes. Yeah, that group has been another like instrumental in my success. You know, there's so many layers to the reason I'm where I am today talking to you guys. Is just there's so many people behind it that you know, the guys at the shop that were willing to take their time, and you know, they saw I was teachable, they saw I was passionate for what I was doing, and they respected it and took time out of their day to, and by day I mean years, to teach me. You know, I was awful when I first came in. I was teachable. You know, I had a couple of basics, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing. I did not know what I was doing. I spent most of my first year grinding out my welds because they had a very high level of quality workmanship that they expected out of the shop. And me coming out of 6 months, I had 104 hours of welding when I got hired. And how I passed the weld test, I'm not sure. You know, once again, they saw I was teachable. I was passionate, and I wanted to learn. And I think that was probably my only saving grace. But just very blessed by the time that people took to share their knowledge with me. And that shop, they all became my brothers, you know. It's just an incredible place to work. It was a big family. That's cool. Well, I can tell you the reason you're on this podcast, and I think that everybody would agree with me here. It's just bottom line is you're just genuine. You're just the real deal, and you're one of us. You know, it comes across very apparent on your posts and everything. So that's all I can say. Thanks for giving us your time today.
Man, I'm absolutely honored. That means the world to me that you guys would take your time and want to talk to me and share my story. I really appreciate it.
If there's anything, this is you've given us your time, you know, so now's your time. If you want to promote your Etsy store or things like that, feel free. This is the time to do that.
Well, I have classes that I'm giving in my shop that teaching introduction to welding. That just a very short, it's 4-hour class that just to give someone a taste of welding if they thought about getting into it and just wanted to try it out without spending thousands of dollars on a school and finding out that maybe they don't like it, or maybe they find a new passion. That teaching those classes. I also have a 4-hour small sculpture class, and I have a 2-day class on that I'm teaching on how to weld larger sculptures. And in sometime in July, I have a book coming out that's being published through Skyhorse Publishing, 30 horseshoe projects that you can weld at home. They contacted me. I actually thought it was a joke when they contacted me. Got an email from some people, and they said that, hey, you interested in writing a book? And I don't know how they found me. I don't know if it was through I make a lot of horseshoe stuff, and I've got some pictures through like Pinterest that have become pretty popular and been repinned a bunch of times, and that's my only thought. But sent me an email, said, would you be interested in writing this book? It's like, sure, okay. You know, really thought it was a joke. And the guy sends me a contract, and I still think it's a joke. I'm really not sure. I'll sign your contract. They sent me a check. I said, well, I guess they're really serious. I'm going to have to buckle down now and write them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that should be coming out in July. My understanding is July. I just did the did the final review for it here last month. So, which is amazing and humbling. I've never done anything like that before, and just it was incredible. Took all the pictures for it and designed. It's why I have so many of the horseshoe projects that I've got pictures of. You see the 9 I've got listed. I've got 30 of them that I made. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that's the first public announcement I made for it. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Absolutely.
One of the many perks of being on the Welding Tips and Tricks podcast.
Official. You heard it here first, folks.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, is that about it, everybody?
I'd say something, but it'll get all messed up.
Give it a try.
One more. When you were working at the fab shop, Barbie, was there anybody that took you under their wing and there's really made an impact on you? I'd really love to hear about that if it's something that happened there.
Yes, there was. My group leader, his name is Elva Grice, took and spent so many hours with me just teaching me different stuff and was very patient and just very willing to share his knowledge with me and just, put me in a position to succeed, man. It just means the absolute world to me.
That is like, I don't know how you can even place a value on that when somebody who has 20, 30, 40 years of experience is willing to whisper in your ear some of those trade secrets. It's gold. It really is. And it makes not even just the secrets. It's just the fact that somebody's willing to invest in you, that what that speaks to you and your soul is that you're worth something and that they believe in you enough to share some of that with you. And so, that's just a word for those guys out there who maybe, have that opportunity to share some information with that apprentice or that helper or that new guy that's on the job. You see something in him or her that you think can be cultivated, spend the time, share a little tip here and there. You'd be surprised where it goes.
Yeah, changing lives, man. You change lives by doing that. That's one of the reasons that I want to teach other people is welding brings me so much joy, and it makes my heart so happy to be able to do what I'm doing. And to be able to share that with someone else, like someone shared that with me, I mean, that's a gift. It's a priceless gift to be able to do that. I was able to teach the class out in Phoenix there with the 8 girls, and to see them come in there and see the joy in their faces and the pride that they had in what they were doing. I don't think, other than being a parent, I've never had a more proud moment in my life than to see what everyone made, and to see how happy it made them. And it's just, it's an addiction for me to make something, and I see it in my head, I make it, I get done, and it feels good. There's just this immense feeling of pride, of joy, of happiness, but then to see that on someone else's face, man, I really have not been given a nicer gift than to be able to do that. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that people want to learn, but then to be able to show them that and give them, it might spark an interest, pun intended, that they might have a lifelong of joy and happiness. And maybe it's not in welding, maybe it's in something else. But it's just it's when you share your knowledge with other people. I see a lot of that on Instagram, and the willingness of the community to just the Instagram community in whole. I follow a few other artists that are not in metal, but just people raising each other up. I love that. For years, I've seen a lot of people be catty and, not nice and everything else. Man, you go on there and it's just I love, seeing the women that are raising each other up instead of knocking them down, man. And I don't know if it's a different generation or what's going on, but, it just makes my heart so dang happy to see that.
That's what we see largely in the welding community. That's why we're so all in it. It's a great thing. It just iron sharpens iron. Everybody's on there, whether or not you're DMing or even actually, communicating that closely, just seeing what somebody posts, it continually raises the bar, and you want to do better. You want to help somebody else do better. It's just I don't know how to explain it other than it's a very cool thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that said, I think probably a good place to put a pin in this thing. Unless you got something else, you're wearing it heavy on your heart that you'd like to share.
My confessional is done.
Yeah, it was good. I really, I like to hear about the low points and working through them and getting back to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and all that. That's always kind of inspirational to hear somebody, going through some tribulations and going through some obstacles, hitting those dark points, but muscling through them and then, getting through to a better place. That's just what everyone loves to hear. That's just like, that's the classic story of it. I don't know, every movie that's ever been written and every story that's ever been told, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. You have to have conflict and everything. And that's the way life is. You go through dark places and you muscle through.
Yeah.
Makes you appreciate everything. And when you hear about it, it makes you feel like you're one of them,
Definitely.
Well, do I dare try doing the Patreon thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
We seem to be doing okay now.
All right. I'm sorry, Barbie. I hate that technology. All right. Let's give it a shot. Well, I'd like to once again thank our patrons that support us on Patreon.com. Really means a lot to us for the support that's shown, especially for our top patrons, Steve Funk, Shane Gunnan, Rick Alotto, Jacob Elder, Dave Horvath, Scott Silva, and House of Chop. If you'd like to help support the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Welding Tips and Tricks Podcast. And that way, we won't be starving artists, right? No, just kidding.
And if you'd like to reach us here at the podcast, our email address is weldingtipsandtrickspodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, our phone number is 915-308-7024. And I'm Roy Crumrine.
I'm Jody Collier.
And I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I'm Barbie the Welder, and that's a wrap.
Awesome.
Once again, thanks so much for volunteering your time, being on here, sharing your story, and freely sharing, where you've been, where you're going, and all that kind of stuff. It's been awesome hearing your background and hearing your story. Hope to see you at FabTech.
I hope to see you guys there. I had a blast, man. Thank you so much.